U.S. President Donald Trump's latest tariffs have taken effect around the globe. They target more than 90 countries, with repercussions rippling far beyond. Trump has promised that the new import taxes will bring in billions of dollars of revenue for the United States. But many economists say any windfall comes at a steep cost. CBC senior business reporter Peter Armstrong has more on the immediate impacts of these tariffs.
Yeah, it's an interesting question, right? Because it kind of feels like everything's been thrown up in the air and now we get to try to figure out where it's all going to land. And to figure that out, you got to sort of pin down a couple of things that matter. And the two things that we do know for sure have changed is that costs are up and the federal government's revenue is up. But remember, it's Americans that pay that tariff. They pay that revenue into the federal government coffers. When a product lands here, it's an American company that cuts the check. Now, maybe those American companies have negotiated, a better price to offset the tariff, but that's not by any means universal. The Yale Budget Lab says Americans pay an average of 18.3% more now for imported products. Import taxes in this country have now reached the highest we've seen since 1934. So every time you hear Donald Trump or Howard Lutnick or some administration official brag about all that extra money that's sloshing around the government coffers today, remember, that's due to a tax, a tariff, paid by Americans. And we've already seen this impact show up in a number of ways, right? Job growth has slowed, the economy shrank in the first quarter of the year, and corporate earnings, they've shown a hit to some of the biggest companies in the country. We saw GM's profits fell by $1.1 billion in the first quarter. Ford posted its first quarterly loss in years, and Apple says that its tariffs are going to end up costing it about $2 billion through the first half of this year.
So how are the markets reacting to all of this?
It's an interesting kind of dichotomy, right? Because on the one hand, you look at those numbers and say, well, the markets must be selling off, and they're not. And there's two big reasons for that. The first, Natasha, is that traders have been pretty wary of overreacting to Donald Trump. So they've taken a decidedly kind of wait and see approach to his trade policies. And that in turn kind of leads you to the second thing that, yeah, tariffs did kick in last night, but there are still these huge, giant carve-outs, specifically pharma and semiconductors, and we're expecting to get new tariff levels on those in the weeks ahead. You also have to think that, stuff that got onto a ship and was able to get out to sea before midnight last night, it remains tariff-free, and it takes, 6 weeks for the average ship to get from Asia to the U.S., So there's this new deadline that we'll be back to watching, container ship traffic. And will it slow down? Will some of those ships turn around or reroute? It's always important to remember that as bad as it is, and look, it's rough for businesses out there, here, abroad, everybody trying to navigate all of this. As rough as it is, it could get worse, and it could get worse fast.
CBC senior business reporter Peter Armstrong in Washington.